This is Immigrant Podcast with Robinson.
Welcome to the Immigrant Podcast with Robinson. Today, I'm honored to have a friend with me, Osvaldo Perez. Osvaldo, welcome to the show.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Hey, Osvaldo, could you say a couple of words in your mother tongue for those that are listening to the podcast today?
Hola a todos, bienvenidos a este podcast. Espero que este podcast les sirva de ayuda para el proceso de migración y cualquier información útil para tomar la decisión de emigrar, que es lo que nos enfocamos en este podcast.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Osvaldo, let us know. Who are you?
Well, my name is Osvaldo Perez. I'm from Dominican Republic. My profession, I'm electric engineer. That's my bachelor said that I'm electrical engineer, but I worked like 19 years as telecommunication engineer. You know, in our country, we have sometimes we have to work in different areas, different than our career. But that career, telecommunication, is related because my profession is electric engineer, but the major is communication, telecommunication. So
it's related. It's not that far from each other.
Yeah, it's related, exactly.
Perfect. So I know that you arrived into Canada because your spouse is a student. So you basically came with your family as students. What is the process like? Could you expand on what the process looks like, which province you came to, and how that all works? I know there's a lot of people out there that are very interested in finding out how to move to Canada as either students or skilled workers, or maybe applying through different programs. But again, in your case, is a student, you have an open work permit because your spouse is a student. But once again, let's go through that process. What's the first step? What's the second step? How does it work?
Well, basically, this process takes a lot of time for us because first we would like to migrate here as skilled workers, but we took a lot of time to take the decision, and later we decide to came here as a student because due to our age, is better to come here as a student. Specific to this province, Quebec, because Quebec for older people, when I say older people, is people that are older than 35 years, have a program of, well, have different programs, but has a program that you can apply, and you don't lose much points. But if you would like to apply as express entry program, you need to be young, and that's why we decide to apply as a students in this province. Some people thought that it's better to apply to Atlantic province, to Fredericton, to Nova Scotia, to Manitoba. But that is true, and this decision is a personal decision, but I thought that maybe in those provinces there are least opportunities than here than Quebec, because in Canada the province that have the more opportunities are Toronto and Ontario and Quebec, specific Toronto and Montreal, and that's we choose here Montreal for the opportunities and the program to the faster program for us in our case to get the permanent residence.
Very good, perfect. And once you determined that you wanted to come here to Quebec, then how does it look like? You apply through an institution that basically allows students to pursue a program for a year and a half, and then after the program is over, what follows? What is the process for you to actually get your residence?
Yes, you have different study programs. You have the AEC, that are programs that takes 1 year. You have the DVS program, that is the program that we choose. The program takes 1 year and a half, or 1,800 hours. And there is another program, DEC, that are programs that takes 2 or 3 years, depend the area, the profession. But in our case, we choose the DVS or the DEP in French, because that program takes 1 year and a half. And after you finish that program, you can apply for a work permit, 3 years work permit. And that's the advantage of that program, because if you do an AEC, you can only apply for a 1 year work permit. That's a postgraduate permit, right? Because when my wife applied for the program, I get instantly open work permit during the time of her study, right? But after you finish the program, you can get another 3 more years of work permit. So that could have 4 years and a half for staying here in Canada. And I think that in this time, there is enough time to get the permanent residence.
And you also have to demonstrate that you speak French. Actually, both of you speak French, correct?
Yes, at the final. Well, it depends of the if we would like to apply to the PEQ, Quebec Experience Program, could be a student or worker. Now, after they change the rules, you need to know both applicants need the French, the test, the official test in French. That could be the TEF or DERF, an official French test. For the principal is level 7, and for the other person is level 4. That is B2 and B1, B2 and B1.
Those are part of the requirements that you need to have. So you actually finish your studies. In your case, your spouse finishes her studies. You demonstrate the French proficiency, and then after that, you can actually submit for your residency. But as you said, something very important is that you are entitled or legally able to stay here for 4 years and a half, which is a long time for you to actually submit your paperwork and get your residency. And that to me is very important, that you're able to be in the country legally. I have a lot of friends still today that sometimes even having the money to maybe apply for a study program here in Canada, I still decide to go to the States and try to play their chances on the system, see how things are going to work out. There's not really a plan. It's something very difficult in the States because you basically have to marry someone to get papers if you're not being asked by a relative, a husband, or somebody else. That's the beauty of either coming here to Canada as a student or apply to any of the other programs that are available out there for immigrants.
Yes, and there is another, for example, for the students, you need to have one language. For example, the study that you have to do, you have to know that language because you need to have an intermediate language level. For example, in our case, in English, and the French, there is something that you can do it here because now the government offer you French classes free. And during the time I was studying, I could take French classes and improve my French because I study French in Dominican Republic, and here now I can take French classes and improve my level. So that's a good option that Quebec offer to all the students. And my wife, as soon as she finished her studies, she can begin the French classes, or during the classes, during their study, the DBS, she can take French classes, and that's another option that the government offer for the students. That's
It's important that you mention this because this is something that actually changed. I would probably say within the last year because before people who came as students did not have the opportunity to take French classes for free. But now that's something that the government changed, and it's a great step moving forward. It helps a lot. It helps those families like yours to continue the process. It makes it a lot easier for them to demonstrate that they speak French, which is the official language in Quebec.
And another good important issue that is important to mention is that my wife applied for a CAQ, that is the study permit for the Quebec province, and my kids, I have two kids, they apply to the same CAQ, and they can study here. My daughter is in secondary and my son is in primary, so they can study both in public school, in French schools here, and that's another advantage of come here as a student. Your wife can study here, and your kids can study free. We can say free because we only pay the CAQ permit, but that another advantage. Well, that's an advantage in the whole Canada, but something to mention that it's a good advantage of this program.
Oh, for sure. That's a great advantage for you and for the kids. They're going to be able to make it to school, learn French, and most probably also English. In Montreal, that's very common that kids actually pick up both languages, even when their classes are only in French. So you started this program. What's your advice to those who are considering to come here, students, should they do it on their own? Should they do it through an immigration lawyer? What's your recommendation?
Well, you can do it by your own, but now, the government is putting new rules. You need to demonstrate proof of funds. You need to demonstrate that you need to come back to your country and you have all the laces that could attach you to your country. All those stuff are very now a little bit complicated, but you can do it by your own. But I use a lawyer, an immigration specialist. I use the lawyer because we apply in during 2020. That was a horrible year due to the pandemic, to the COVID. We didn't like to take a lot of long time in this process, so we contract a lawyer. Help us a lot because there was a lot of problems that they request, and finally we arrived here in 2021 in June, but we applied in September 2020.
That was actually a pretty fast process, I should say.
Well, it was a fast process because the lawyer helped us in, for example, something that I can mention here is after we fill all the forms, we send all the forms to the government. They send the medical exams to my wife, but they didn't send the medical exam to me and my kids. We were waiting a lot for that. And after a month, the lawyer told me, well, you can do the exam up front in the medical laboratory that is an official laboratory that Canada uses in Dominican Republic. But that's something that we didn't know, And we went to the medical and we did the upfront medical test, and we sent the test, but that's something that nobody knows. Me, I didn't have that information. That's something that the lawyers knows, because they have information directly here from the government or from the officials that manage all those papers. And finally, we did. We received the answer in finally February, but we need to wait for the study permit. That is the most difficult, and it took like 2 or 3 months because we received the study permit in May.
Yes, but it has a lot to do also with Dominicans having to ship their passports to Mexico, and then in the middle of the pandemic.
The passport only took 15 days. The passport
that was quick.
The passport was very fast, but the passport, but the study permit, that's the final decision that the government say you could apply or you could not apply. It took like two months.
Perfect. Very good.
3 months. Yeah, almost 3 months.
Very good.
But finally, we get the positive response. We felt very happy after that.
And I was just going to say that you are here. That's what matters. You went through the process. It worked out. And if you don't really know what you're going to be doing, it's better to pay someone who knows. I know who you're dealing with, and I would say he's a master. And I've heard so many different cases with other people who actually try to do it on their own and they failed. Then they try to go through some cheap immigration lawyers who do not have all the details and they also failed. They ended up going to the one that you're working with and they're here as well.
Yeah, I mean,
So
look, we have the experience because a friend of mine that applied to this process 2 years ago, he told me that when he applied uh, without a lawyer, without help, and he got a refuse, and that was due to an error in the request and the forms. He felt he felt something, and that was an error, and he received an refuse letter. And after that, he contract a lawyer, this the lawyer that I use, and it took 1 year to resolve this issue. So he told his advice to me, I recommend you that you use a lawyer because that could save you a lot of time. So that's my advice. If you but for example, I know another friend of mine that do the process in the province of Preternington, and he got a positive answer. So it depends of the case. It depends of the family. Depend because you need to prove. For example, if in our case you need to prove that the study program that my wife is going to study should match with his profession. Well, they say that should match is that's something that could add to her profession a new knowledge that can improve the value in the market. For example, in our letter of you need to fill a letter to demonstrate that this program help you in your life, in your professional life. So if the program don't match with your profession or don't match with what you are doing now, that could be a little bit confusing to the advisors or the government advisors, and you can receive a refuse letter for that. So there is a lot of tricks that you have to know. For example, the lawyer have a master in doing that. So they review your letter and they say you need to change this, to change that because that something don't looks good here. So that's you need to be a very secure that you are studying the program for improve your career.
definitely, for sure.
That's what the government looks for.
Correct. And those are details that only someone who breathes this, who lives, who works in this area is going to know. So I agree with you. I think going with the lawyer, someone who has done it 100 times, 200 times is the right approach, even if you have to spend a little bit more of money. But it's the sure way to do it and the sure way to go. Osvaldo, I want to thank you for your time. But before I let you go, I would like you to close the podcast, inviting those Spanish speakers to follow us in our mother tongue, Spanish.
Well, thank you for this opportunity to explain our process, and I expect that this information will be helpful to all the people who listen this podcast. And gracias a todos los internautas o los oyentes de este podcast, y esperamos que estas informaciones le puedan ser útil y que puedan sacarle provecho, y que continúen apoyando el canal para que podamos seguir creciendo como comunidad de inmigrantes.
Excelente, muchas gracias. Everybody, thank you. Until next time.
Thank you
Ciao.
very much.
This was Immigrant Podcast with Robinson.